Candid Conversations with Kemar.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Candid Conversations with Kemar. As usual, I want to thank you guys for listening to the last episode, for reaching out to me with your comments. They were greatly appreciated. And today I have an actually interesting conversation for you guys. We're going to be discussing Cave Hill politics. But before we get down to that conversation, let me introduce the persons with me here on the podcast tonight. So I have with me again Autumn. My friend Autumn is here once again to have this discussion with me. So, say hi, Autumn.
Good night, everybody. I'm back again. Excited to be here. Thank you, Kemar, for inviting me.
That's no problem. And I have with me a new guest. I'm really excited that she's here with me on the podcast. Someone who has been involved in campus life at Cave Hill for her entire time on campus. She has even left Cave Hill, actually still involved in campus life. I have with me Ashleigh-Ann. So she is a Jamaican national who happens to make Barbados her home at the present moment. She was a law student at the UWI Cave Hill campus. She did her LLB there as well as her LLM. And she's the immediate past president for the Cave Hill Law Society, and someone who would have also used her platform in a positive way during this election season. So I felt a need to have Ashleigh on here to have the discussion. I'm so happy that she would have agreed. Ashleigh, welcome to Candid Conversations with Kemar.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for that welcome. That sounded like somebody important. That sounded nice. I'm wondering, who are you talking about? But thank you so much. This is my first time on a podcast, so I'm popping my podcast cherry now. So thank you for having me, and I'm really looking forward to today's discussion.
Definitely. I'm really glad you're here with us, you and Autumn alike. But before we get down to the conversation, the main reason we're here, you guys that listen to the podcast all the time, you know how I feel about small business and how important they are to our economy. So I have to give my small business shout out. Now, this small business I'm shouting out is going to be one that I've seen grown within the last 2 years. This is 2021. I first encountered the business in 2014. There's a young entrepreneur behind the brand, and that small business is going to be GOME Clothing. So this small business shout out is GOME Clothing. So I just want to shout out Letitia for all her hard work she's been doing. If you guys already know GOME Clothing, would have known it started out from just little pins she used to do. Some lovely pins when I first met her in 2014. I bought one, and it was a business she started in secondary school. It has since grown to be a major player in terms of graphic tees and stuff like that, graphic design in Barbados. She would have just released her latest collection, so you guys should definitely go and check that out on Instagram, GOME Clothing. Trust me, you're not going to be disappointed with the product. The quality is good. I have some of her products from a very long time, to the point that mom actually had to stop me from wearing one of these shirts because I wore it to the end. Because it was really good, very comfortable and stuff like that, and they last long. And customer service is top notch as always. She's one of the nicest people you can ever meet. Smart, nice, everything. So I definitely want to take this time to shout out Letitia and GOME Clothing, because she's been doing the damn thing for about 6 years now. When I first met her in 2014, and to see her growth has been exceptional. So definitely want to shout out Letitia and the whole GOME Clothing family. So go and check them out on Instagram at GOME Clothing, GOME Clothing. You will not be disappointed. Trust me. So that is it for the small business shout out. Now the conversation, definitely want to get into that, because that's where all of you are here on the podcast to listen, to hear what we're talking about. So like I said, we're going to be discussing the Cave Hill Guild elections. It was a very exciting election season. I myself participated, and I would say it was indeed an exciting one. It was very thrilling. I had a good time. Although it was not successful in my candidacy, it wasn't. It really was really good to be a part of the entire process and not just watching on from the sidelines. So when we're talking about, the whole kind of campaigning virtually before COVID, how that was, because like I said before, Ashleigh, she served on the Guild, so she would have had that experience in terms of campaigning pre-COVID. So we really want to have a discussion about that. Also, the Guild Electoral Office will be introducing mini debates. That was a new addition to the campaign life here at UWI. So we're going to be discussing that. We're going to discuss debate night and, of course, election outcome. But also, I'm going to touch on Ashleigh's video series. So Ashleigh had a video series during the campaign period here at Cave Hill called Behind the Campaign, a video series on Twitter. I thought it was really well done. I'm actually looking forward to it in the near future again. So we're going to also touch on that too, because I want to know, should I have plans for that in the future? Are we going to get another Behind the Campaign next year? So I'm hoping for that.
We might,
But,
we might, we might.
so all those things. So the conversation is going to be an interesting one. So let us get down to some business, Autumn.
Yes, lovely, lovely. I also want to just give a shout back out to the small business. I remember when Kemar bought that sweater, and I can say for about 5 years after, every time we go, that sweater will make an appearance. So I definitely want to attest to, the quality, the quality of the product.
That's how you know you have a good piece of clothing now. That's how you know it good.
Exactly. It's really comfortable, really, really good.
Definitely. Okay, so as Kemar mentioned, let's just get straight into the conversation. So we know that obviously with COVID, a lot of things had to move to an online platform, obviously being the election as well. So, Ashleigh, you would have been fortunate to just campaign with regular face-to-face interactions, while Kemar had to migrate to the virtual platform. So I just want to get your perspective on how the virtual platform was for you, Ashleigh, as an outsider looking in, and then Kemar, you participating on that platform.
Well, I think the candidates made very good use of everything that they, had at their disposal. And overall, I think generally we're moving into a social media age or a virtual age, or we're already in it. So even from before pre-COVID times, you had to use the online platforms to boost your physical presence on the campus, because you can't be everywhere. You still had to be a student, etc. And how students normally respond to that is, if you only put something online, this is pre-COVID, if you only had put stuff online, they would say you didn't campaign. That was not campaigning. That was not enough. If they didn't see you, if you didn't come to them or come to their class or tell them your mandate individually and persuade them as to why they should vote for you, even when they know they're gonna vote for somebody else, if they don't see you, they're gonna say, she didn't campaign. That one didn't campaign. No. No, that was a thing. That was a very common thing. I think probably more amongst non-nationals. Like if you went on the halls and it was probably election week, and your first time coming on hall was the election week, they would ask you, how comes you're just starting to campaign? They would ask you questions like that. They would be that brutal because it's that important to many of the non-nationals. But I really think that the candidates did a lot. They did a lot. Like, they didn't just do a flyer, or they didn't just do a video. They did memes. They created pages. They created a Twitter. They created an Instagram. They made different. They made use of different platforms. I know some of them were sending their things privately to people that they were in group chats in. Like, people saw me in group chats and thought that I was probably still a student, and sent me things, and I was just like, okay, that's interesting. Like, that's kind of hard, because it's very easy for people to just write off all of these flyers and ignore it and say, okay, that's something else for the trash, for my phone. That's just taking up space on my phone. So I think that the candidates this year, they did have they were dealt a hard hand, but I think they did really well with what they had.
Agreed. So, Kemar, let me hear your perspective first before I respond. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, definitely want to agree with what Ashleigh said. It did create a traditional campaigning at Cave Hill, where we're accustomed to the face-to-face environment. We then had to move on to online, and that was, for me as a candidate, it was not the best. I would honestly prefer face-to-face. I think that if I was able to get to meet people and have conversations with persons and able to convince them, like Ashleigh said, that I was the one for the job, that I'm the one for the job, it probably would have been better, because I'm kind of the person that I talk a lot to persons face to face when I'm on campus. And sometimes I don't always take numbers or don't always take information. So in terms of getting in contact with those persons in the virtual environment was kind of difficult. And I wasn't able, I don't think, for me personally, I'm not sure we rest the candidates, because I felt like they did a decent job. But for me personally, my experience, definitely being a face-to-face person, campaigning virtually was hard for me. It was tough. I know we're moving into a digital age, and that's what society is now being accustomed to. But I don't want us to forget how important having face-to-face contact with voters.
You know,
Uh,
it's actually really difficult to sometimes just put yourself out there, and all you're seeing in response to something that you're saying is numbers. Like, you only see that this amount of people like it or this amount of people viewed
exactly,
it. You don't
exactly.
get direct feedback, because most times you won't see people's comments to say, oh, how comes they're not doing this? How comes he not doing this? Like,
Mm,
whereas in person, you're better able to gauge what people want from you, because some people you'd want to go to them with an elevator pitch, and some people are just like, no, I don't want to hear your elevator pitch. I want to know your mandates. Some
mhm.
people want to know a very specific thing. They say, what are you going to do about alum associations when you're on the guild? That had nothing to do with your position, but they want to know. And then you're better able to gauge what people want from you, and manage that like one-on-one. And a 10-minute conversation goes off so quickly in person. But if you're supposed to post a 10-minute video anywhere, people are like, I ain't watching all of that.
Yep,
Like,
I'm not watching that.
that's too
I'm not.
long. My attention span is 15 seconds. Come
That
on,
was
you
kind
gotta,
of my
you know.
that's why I have reservations about that too, because I think that I held back on campaigning virtually originally in terms of sending too much things out at once, because I felt like I didn't want to flood devices and make people get annoyed at me in the early, like, oh my gosh, he's saying something again to this group chat today, like, oh my gosh, say his face again. So I felt like I
Mm-hmm.
would say, you know what, Kemar, just hold off. Utilize Instagram and stuff like that. But in terms of the chats and different things, let me just do that a bit later. So that was definitely something that I would have done. And I felt like that probably wasn't the wisest decision. Not
Looking
that
back.
looking back, yeah, not looking back, probably wasn't the wisest decision, but that definitely was something that I thought of in the original stages of my campaign.
I think in a sense, it kind of levels the playing field, not necessarily in a good way, because, when you're going and take public office, you're normally a person that can relate to people on a personal and also on a public basis. But it levels the playing field in terms of you can't come and use as much charisma or pure charisma. You then have to have very substantial mandates. You're going to have very good graphics. If you do a video, your video editing have to be really up there. Your timing has to be really good, because if you post 2 a.m. in the morning, nobody's going to see that. If you post 7 a.m., maybe some people will see it, but the different algorithms of the different social media platforms might mess you up. So it's very tricky. It's hard to navigate, but I think, like, on the basis of it, because when I was researching the candidates, I didn't see or hear or see how someone looked on me or how their body language moves. I could only see the substance that they put out
Correct.
with their campaign material. So in that way, I'm
Glad you
saying that,
mentioned that.
it levels the playing field, but not necessarily in a good way.
Yeah, because it was gonna also. I also wanted to know too, because this is like for me personally. Also, because I'm also a voter, not only a candidate, but I'm a voter, and I'm looking at the fact like all I'm seeing what you're putting on social media. As a voter, I want to see you in person too. I want to really, is this really you? If you get me, you could put any image out on social media,
Yeah.
and so it's about people either being really genuine or are they not genuine. So I was really having that battle in my mind, like, this post and stuff is very good, but is this person really person for the job? Because you can put out a wonderful video or a wonderful flyer, whatever the case may be, but then can you really come and explain these mandates to me? If I ask you a question, do you know what your mandates are really are? Do you just know, well, hey, if I know these 5 mandates and I'm gonna do a video on it, yes, but if anybody asks me, I don't really know. I just prepared myself to do this video.
Correct. You
But I can't
following a
explain
script.
my mandates. Yeah, I'm following the script, but I can't speak on these things from my head. So as a voter too, I would love to have the face-to-face interaction with some of the candidates. I know some already, but to really have that conversation, to really press on some of the things they would have mandates they would have put up would have been great for me.
I still think that we were able to get a lot of personality from some of the candidates. Like,
Definitely, definitely.
their personality still seep through their campaign, whether it be like their campaign style or their normal interactions, which was like not their campaign material, not something that says vote for X, Y, and Z. How they interact, I think, says a lot about them, and also how other people interact with them, because somebody
Yes,
must know them.
yes.
They must know at least 5 people. So seeing
Yeah, I saw
how, like,
persons also. I saw persons confirming that this is this person in reality. Like this is
mhm,
exactly how this person behaves in person. I'm just like, okay, well, that's good to see that there are persons that interact with day to day basis at Cave Hill. And know, okay, XYZ is actually a bubbly personality. Actually, will do these things, and they're not just saying these things because they're friends, but because they've witnessed you in part witness you be a part of campus life. So they're able to
Yeah.
say, okay, I do see this person doing XYZ on campus. I do see them being this fun, bubbly person, being this innovative person. So you can see them being the right fit for the job in terms that they are actually what they are putting on paper. They are that in reality.
Yeah. But on top of that, we also have to consider the fact that this is what the nature of the next guild will be like. A lot of their activities, a lot of their impact is going to be
Correct.
online. So
So
they're
there's a
going to have
status
to
quo.
fall into that kind of lifestyle. So even if you're not the best at social media or platforms, you have to learn, because if you're given a presidential address or a faculty rep address or anything like that, how you're gonna get to your constituents is through videos. So you have to
Agree.
you have to get good at it,
Yeah,
or have
I agree.
somebody on your team that is good at it, because that's what your life is gonna be like.
And I just think that this plays in, and I don't necessarily want it to be a hot topic segment, but when you guys were speaking and you mentioned you can't really tell someone's personality based on what they put on social media. Even though you may get a video, they may be following a script. And I think that ties in perfectly with the developments that we're seeing with the Derek Jackson situation. Someone that seems credible, someone that seems that you could take their advice, someone that
Mhm.
seems fit for the job. But then
Mhm.
when as you get more deep into their personal lives, you kind of look at them sideways, because are they actually right for the job? Should I actually take on what they're saying and try to apply it to my decision making? You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
it goes more than just doing the videos and doing flyers, as you guys were saying. And even though there may be limitations with face-to-face interactions, you have to stay true to who you are as a candidate. Whatever you put out has to align with what you agree with personally, because that's how you are able to convince persons and build that confidence in persons to vote for you. So I love the conversation. I love where this is going. And then actually, you mentioned that going forward for the next guild election, that this is basically going to be the example or the standard that for that following candidates following are going to build upon. So you want to
Well,
be able to set the tone
not
and
just
then be able
candidates.
to.
Well, I
Mhm,
don't mean not just candidates. I think like the entire operation of the guild, it's going to be mostly
mhm,
online, because even when the country repeals some of the restrictions, Cave Hill
yeah.
maintains that they have to be in a position to bounce back if anything changes, and it takes a longer time for Cave Hill to get their decision making processes
I'm shaking my head.
going. So so it takes them a longer time. So they normally have in place that every student activities are supposed to be held online. So even
Mhm,
so, I'm saying the guild has to ensure that they have a good working relationship with their online platforms. Like every
Mhm.
position on the guild has to have a good working relationship, because you're not going to be able to see all the people that you're in charge with at any, not even
mhm,
half, not even 10%. So you
Agreed.
have to be able to do this thing properly. Yes, to the new candidates for next year,
mhm.
but also for themselves and
Still, yeah, that
everybody
no
that they're
coming guild.
responsible
Yeah.
for.
Okay, so along with the virtual campaigning, one of the new additions to the guild election process was the mini debates. So I know Kemar, you would have participated in those, and I believe Ashley would have had a chance to be able to, just log into a few of the debates. So Kemar, just tell us, how was that experience for you overall on the mini debates?
First of all, I think it was a really good initiative from the Guild Electoral Office. It really did give me the opportunity to really practice, because logging on the Zoom and seeing so many persons on there, it was like 300 people at a point in time. When it was my turn, I literally froze, because that was my first time being in front of so many UE students. So it was just like, oh my gosh. So it was a good practice session. I think many candidates would have appreciated it too, and it was different because the debate night is usually just come and give a little speech and people ask 2-3 questions and then that's it. But the mini debates was really a debate. You were able to ask candidates the same question and get the feedback, get rebuttals, stuff like that. So it really was a good initiative. I must have hats off to the Guild Electoral Office. I'm hoping that the mini debates stay on the election calendar for the future, because I think it was a really good initiative.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I didn't, well, I'm normally generally just kind of out of the loop with a lot of things. But when I saw that they were doing that, I was just like, that's really good. And when I tuned in, I said, this really gives you like a better feel of some of the candidates, like more than just the 5-10 minutes that they'd be up there, because it's less candidates as well, and you get to see them go side and side with like very short answers, so you can really get like a, it's just their personality going and come out in that time. And also, I don't think you guys got the questions beforehand to see the candidates like think on their feet, like on the
No, we
spot.
did not. We did not. Yeah, it was live and direct.
Yeah, so I'm saying like I think that's good, because candidates will be, not candidates, but guild counselors will be put in that position a lot, where you have to answer, you have to give a good answer for things like thinking like that. So to see candidates, rise into the mantle and being able to answer their questions well or not so well, it really shows you who is the better candidate. Um, and I thought it was very innovative. I think it was like a very good addition to the election season. And honestly, if I had known about the debate, I probably wouldn't have done my show because I think they kind of serve like the same purpose.
Perfect segue. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I saw that, I was just like, oh, I don't know if anybody's gonna watch my thing anyways, but I was like, anyways, I'm still gonna do it because I started. So but I think it was really good. They saw that there was a need for it, and they saw that there was a gap, and they filled it. So that was really good.
Love that. And then there's
By that,
go ahead, Kemar, go ahead.
I was gonna say that actually I definitely tuned into her show. And I think that each thing has its own purpose, because that your show brought a different audience. Not everyone is able to, to tune into the Zoom to the debate night, and the debate and the mini debates were available to watch after. Your show is there on Twitter. You can always go and look at your own convenience, if you get me. So I think that each brought their own little different audience. So I think your show was really much needed. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You know how I felt. I didn't get my callers yet, but we're going to talk about that later. But
sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect segue into my question, which is the next topic, behind the campaign, which is the series that you would have done, Ashleigh. I think it also ties in with the conversation that we were having earlier, to give the candidates as much platforms as possible to be able to show their personality first and foremost, and also speak about their mandates. So for you, Ashleigh, what motivated you to start this series on Twitter, and why Twitter?
Okay, well, like, first and foremost, like, simplest question is because I have a lot of time on my hands. That's like the plain sense of it. And I know that I was gonna be following the elections anyways. I probably would have been live tweeting stuff anyways. So I said, why not do something worthwhile with my time? Because I have a little downtime before I have to start work again. So I'm normally like a creative person as well, but I've never tried videos before. So I said, let me see, because it's not my head on the chopping block. Nobody could crucify me in a serious sense about doing it. If it flops, it flops. Like, that's okay. And I would be getting some kind of experience and seeing like what video editing is like, and even through it, when I started making my initial contacts to the candidates, I was like, I forgot how nice it is to like meet new people and talk to new people, because not all the candidates I knew beforehand. So it then transformed into something else. I remember like bouncing ideas off of my like 3 closest people, and one of my friends who know me from undergrad, she gave me a couple tips, and she was saying what I could do as well is to give some of the candidates, or where it's needed, give the candidates personal advice. And so some of the candidates were able to get the personal advice. I wasn't able to do it for all, mostly because I probably didn't I didn't have enough information to know what advice to give them. But for who I could do it for, I was able to do it. But I think I made a couple good connections, and it felt good doing it. And it's not just about like the engagement, because
thank you.
You don't know who watching, and how much people are really watching, kind of thing, because you'll see like 500 views, 1,000 views, 2,000 views, and you don't truly know the impact it has until people come back to you and say, give their personal feedback about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you think there's a space, as Kemar would have mentioned earlier, for you to expand it, not necessarily expand the platform, but to expand it for future guild elections, and also partnering with the electoral office?
I'm very open to doing it in the future. I'm open. I would have loved to speak to everybody, but my personal thing was just about time because it was not like I was on a position and I had the entire year to think about the execution of this project. It was literally an in the moment thing. When they dropped the candidate list, I made a tweet to say I feel like doing a show about this thing. And then I followed through and I did the show. And just because of like time constraints and like some technicalities and some setbacks, I was only able to do 7 positions, but I would have loved to speak to everybody. So I am open to doing it. It only just depends on my availability, but as long as I'm available, I would do it.
Yeah, I definitely think that should be a joint something in the future going forward because you would have been a Pascal counselor. You're still very much involved in Cave Hill life, although you've left. And I think that utilizing your platform where you were able to reach, because Twitter people are different than Instagram and WhatsApp people. We know that what happens on Twitter is way more than what happens on,
They're definitely meaner. I'm not going to lie.
I hear you say definitely me.
Meaner.
Oh yeah, meaner. Exactly. You're gonna get wrong
meaner.
From them.
Big fat. Big fat.
So you're gonna hear exactly what it is they're thinking, filter the comments, and that was the perfect platform to have the show on. Originally, when I saw this first video, you could go ahead.
Yeah. Also, Autumn had asked why I had used Twitter, and it's because my Twitter is a space that exposes my personality. Like my Instagram is just pictures of me on the beach. Basically, I have a separate Instagram for when I was involved in Cave Hill politics, which was Ashleigh as the president. So there's Ashleigh as the president. There's Ashleigh as the beach lover. And then there is Ashleigh on Twitter, which is like truly what my personality is like. It's very random, sometimes comedic, sometimes like nonsensical, but whatever is there on Twitter, it's actually like truly a part of my personality.
Actually is.
So right. So I do spend a lot of time on Twitter because like it's like a superior app, to be honest. So I just like, I'm gonna put it on a platform where I feel the most comfortable being myself. On Instagram, that's not what my aesthetic really is on Instagram. Facebook is for family. So Facebook was also the question. So I had put it on Twitter because that's what I use the most. And that's where like I would care more about the engagement. That's where I know like a target audience could see it. And also it's very easy to share. And it's like, you can see, you can kind of track your engagement a little bit. It shows the true amount of views, not just impressions, those kind of things. So that's what I liked about Twitter. The only setback I really had with using Twitter is that the videos could only be cut to 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Yeah, and if you want to post longer videos, you have to have a special permission, which I did apply for, but they don't answer me. So yeah, so they had that. At first, they were saying you should download this app and do this and do that. So I did this and did that, and I turned around, I still can't post a 10-minute video. And I check it out, I needed a permission to do it. So that's how those other, those big brands get to do it. But that was my only thing. But otherwise, like, I think Twitter was the perfect place to do it.
I love that.
It really was. But I remember originally when I saw the tweet pop up on my timeline, it was like, okay, it's interesting. She said she's going to be engaging the candidate. So I was like, okay, just wait. I'm not going to lie, Ashley. I honestly would chat my DMs to make sure I didn't have any I checked my Instagram. I hope she didn't message me and I didn't respond in 10 minutes. I said, oh, make this boy already unprofessional. He doesn't respond to DMs. No, and then it was at the time really, because originally it was like, I know she's not going to get around everybody. Time is not going to allow her to.
Yeah.
It's just not enough time to get through all of these candidates. It's just
I'm really not gonna lie, I had humanities on my list. Like I'm gonna tell you who I had on my list. I had all of the contested positions on my list. President, vice president, treasurer. I had secretary on my list, wasn't able to get to secretary. PRO, UCC, GCC, IACC. I wanted to do the Faculty of Cultural, Creative and Performing Arts because he would have been the first. And I'm like, wow, you're going to be the first of something. I want to know what you're like because this is really like a courageous step. I wasn't able to get to him. I wanted to do humanities. Of course, I got to do law rep and I wanted to do sports faculty as well. But I didn't get to do everybody. If I had all the time in the world, I would have done everybody. But those are my target ones. So what really dropped off of my list as time went on. The first one that dropped off of my list was UCC. And the second one that dropped off my list was humanities, because to edit a video with 4 candidates was really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, let me lessen the load a little bit. And then last one that dropped off my list was secretary. I wasn't able to get to the secretary, but those positions I really wanted to do, and especially on debate night, when I saw how hard the humanities reps came, I was like, oh my God, I really wish I got to talk to them, because y'all was just fire. Like, I loved it. Like, I loved the innovation that was in that that humanities bunch. And I'm gonna be honest, like, it's not really a race that I was following closely. Like, some I would be more interested in just naturally. Humanities, I don't really know the runnings, workings of humanities or the nature of it, kind of thing. So I didn't want to impose what my opinion of what a humanities rep should be when I truly don't know that much about being a humanities rep. So that's part of the reason why I dropped it off too. But when I heard you guys, I was actually just really impressed. The winner, I don't want to butcher her first name, but Miss Burnett, I know I've seen her on campus before, so I have an idea of who she is. Veli, I knew that she was the candidate like a previous year, so I had known of her, but I wasn't paying that much attention. But this year when I heard her speak, I was like, she's really good. Like, I think she's actually quite impressive. Janae, I think, followed me on Twitter, so I came across her campaign page, and I think Kemar, you also follow me. So but that my previous interactions with the humanities reps was very limited, so I was just like really pleasantly surprised at how hard you guys came for that race.
Yeah, I figured that we would have been underestimated. So originally it was just like, you know what, Ashley's gonna see, not gonna, no, she's gonna get her law people for sure, because she was a past law rep. She wanna make sure she get her law people in. The big dogs gonna get chip in, and they're gonna forget this small little faculty exists, and we're gonna get called.
No, it's not forget.
And then it's not a forget thing. Get away.
It's not a forget thing.
Get away. And then two, we also, I'm not sure if this would play the role, but I know we were kind of election season is over, just to be pretty frank on the podcast, but we weren't really, I guess, permitted to really appear on your show. Not sure what the issue was there specifically. So I'm not sure if that would have played a role in you not getting everyone you wanted to get. But I know
it did play a role, because even though I intended to do like few positions and be unproblematic and thing, I think like the warnings that I got, the types of warnings I got, it kind of slowed me down a bit, because then I had to be thinking about the warnings and thinking about, am I doing something wrong? Am I making sure the candidates are comfortable? Am I making anybody say anything that's against the election rules? I had to be going through in detail with a fine-tooth comb, going over like the new rules, balancing them against the old rules, and wondering like, why was there this kind of tension or like this kind of hostility towards it?
Because I saw nothing wrong with the initiative. It's just that to me, it's as a talk show. If I decide to go on a talk show as a candidate to promote myself as a candidate, I think the onus is on the person not to say anything they know they're not supposed to say. I don't think any of your questions would have come nearly to even that line, a crossing line. I don't think any question was out of the way, out of the ordinary. I think it was a perfect platform to get out there. And it's just sad that we weren't able to fully get that experience. So really hoping that next year, as we mentioned in the beginning, about you partnering with the committee and with the electoral office, it is something that they can definitely add to the election calendar of campaign stop. You're going to be able to go on there.
Well, I think now, like, whoever would be going up for that position would be aware of it. So if they do want to include it, they have more time to think about it. We have more time to talk about it, because honestly, like, the time wasn't a lot of time that was there, like, a 2-3 week period while people are still full students. It's a lot to go through for a tight time. Mm-hmm. But there are definitely things that I think could have been handled better, especially when you're dealing with people that are of your age group, your peers. Like, genuinely, how you speak to people is always important. Like, you make sure you treat people with a certain type of respectability. Definitely. Whether you're going up for the new guild, whether you're on the old guild, whether you are a successful candidate or an unsuccessful candidate, like, it's your reputation that's going to precede you. So how you talk to everybody. So as a successful counselor, you'd expect that students are going to come to you with lots of different complaints. Outside parties are going to come to you with different things, and you have to know how to deal with everybody like respectfully.
Totally.
If you cannot deal with them respectfully, you are at liberty, because you're just a human. You're at liberty to put down your phone, go and cuss them to your mother and your friend and anybody else, but come back and tell them what you're saying to them in a respectful tone. You
I
know,
totally
when you when you take certain tones, people might not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you said it, and they'll remember how you made them feel. So that's the kind of thing that I think is very important. It's not simply about the essence or the substance of what you said. It really depends on how you went about it, that people will remember about you forever, you know. But
Yes.
to each his own. The show went on nonetheless, but it did take a couple days out of me. I think it probably would have taken like 3 positions out of me, because I got one warning on one day. So me being like kind of fuzzled about the warning, I'm just like, okay, should I proceed? Are people backing out? I don't know. Start, go, stop, nothing. And then I got another warning, which kind of came from OSS, Office of Student Services, to say that I should cease and desist. To which I contacted OSS and was basically like, what do you mean, guys? What do you mean cease and desist? Like,
Wow.
you guys are stifling creative expression here. And put on top of it, I'm not a student.
I was so harmless.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had detail to them. I contacted them because the persons in OSS know me quite well. So I'm just like, I don't treat OSS as a single entity. I treat OSS as the individual persons that make up that organization.
Correct.
You know, so because these institutions, universities, government, everything, it's made up out of individuals. So I contacted them and I was just wondering, what exactly is the issue? Is it that you guys don't know what I'm going to ask? Is it that, so they had an issue in terms of saying that they weren't sure that my platform was going to be fair, and because I was sharing flyers for one of the candidates, Mark Yu, I was sharing one of the flyers for my friend who was running for UCC, which is Osaze. And I shared those flyers because I knew that I could not get to UCC. And I said, since I cannot get to UCC, let me help my friend in the only way I could possibly help them, which was to share his flyers, because he wasn't going to be featured on the show. He wouldn't get a chance to be featured on the show, and he asked me to do it, and that was the only candidate information that I shared. All right, so they had an issue in terms of saying I was sharing the flyer, so it would introduce bias. No, I'm not sure people truly understand what bias is, because
talk about it, lawyer.
Go ahead. Just because someone does have an inkling, or they do have a relationship with someone, it does not mean that their actions are going to adversely affect the proceedings. So if I was going to feature UCC, I would not have shared his flyers. But if I had featured UCC in my video, because I, think about what I'm going to say in my videos sometimes. In my video, I would have said, well, you guys know that Osaze is my friend, but please know he didn't get the questions before. There was no extra time. Everybody was treated equally. That kind of level of transparency. The thing about bias is that you should declare your bias. And you should demonstrate that you're still like impartial. You're not using this to influence whatever. Or I didn't give him an easier question. Whereas if I gave him an easier question, you could see with your eyes if it was easier, if it was harder. You understand what I mean? And I tend to be harder on my friends because I'm just like, you're friends with me. You must know how to handle difficult SHIT,
And I know that you're able to as well, because you're my friend.
Right. And if you're not doing the thing right, I would tell you, you really messed that up. You ain't really do that good. So that's the kind of person I am. So for them to then tell me that this might introduce some bias, XYZ, and I'm saying, well, OSS, neither you nor the guild told me to do this program. But if either of you did do it, I would have followed your rules. And also I did kind of approach them to see like what were the do's and don'ts. And there was just a specific issue with the phrasing of one of my questions to one of the candidates, where I was like, if my question had offended like the democratic process, or if I was making somebody break the rules, if I was asking somebody to be disrespectful to the office, disrespectful to the guild or the school, something like that, something that was about anti-campaigning, anything along those lines, I would understand wanting me to change it. But I looked on the question and just like, it's not a particularly nice question. But I don't see anything wrong with it. And they ask much worse things on actual debate night. So those harder questions, more difficult questions do get approved. So I was kind of confused because I was just like, I need more reason to change my question than that. And the next communication I got was that people kind of being afraid to come on the show because they're afraid of breaking the rules. And I was just confused because I'm just like, what's happening, guys? Like, I don't understand anymore.
Well, from the candidate perspective, I can't remember the exact message. I don't want to misspeak, but I know the issue that we would have received, the correspondence we would have received would have been that they're unable to vet your questions. So if you do appear on your show, note that we're going to be scrutinized. Basically, that's what the message said.
Yeah, but I honestly would have appreciated a prior message coming to me to say that the only way the candidates can come on the show is if they vet the questions, or a message saying you cannot contact the candidates because we can't vet your questions. Just something like beforehand, before a final decision was made, or if you needed more information from me, because I had most of my questions like laid out. So I'm saying I was giving my questions, and then when I gave my first set of questions and they didn't like it, and I refused to change it, it became an issue. But I didn't get confirmation that it was an issue until the candidates came back to me to say that they had an issue. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think a conversation would have been warranted, but I don't really think there was a space for the conversation. I don't know if it's that they didn't have time or couldn't bother with me, or whatever the reason was, that the conversation just didn't happen, and it just happened to be like a matter of finality of decisions that's not like from prior conversation with either parties, just internal conversations, final decision, which was kind of rough. It's kind of hard to just be on the recipient end, and also like when I was trying to vent, to say, well, hey, if I did this, or also I didn't do this, or anything like that, or I tell them this is a message I'm going to send to the candidates, no further correspondence. That's just it.
That's interesting to me, Ashleigh. And in my mind, do you think it has anything to do with you previously being on the Guild, that they thought that you having that insider knowledge or something would?
I don't think so. I just think it has to do with the fact that the electoral office has to approve everything that goes out, and
from the candidates' end.
From the candidates end, they have to approve everything that goes out. So I think it's just a matter of seeing that everything is under control, and instead of like going back and forth kind of thing, I think a final decision was taken and they didn't want to revisit it. So I think that's what happened. I don't know if it was personal. If it was personal, that's up to whoever. Like, that's okay. That's what it's fine. It's okay. But I don't think it was personal. I just think it was kind of across the board umbrella kind of application of something. That's what happened. But I think you should be in a position to listen to certain things, or like be able to defend what your reasoning is, and not come across as like shutting down like outside ideas or any kind of outside innovation.
Yeah, but a question, Ashleigh, but how was the format for the show? Because I was in a situation where we sent the questions to the candidates before, and then they recorded answer and then sent back to you, because I think I saw some persons did videos, so the candidates had time to to look at the questions themselves and decide if they want to answer this or not.
Right. So what I did was I contacted them first with a long message. The message I drafted it's kind of drafted very general. I wanted to get it sent in the candidates group chat, but I wasn't allowed to. So I sent you a generic message. I gave you an idea of what is to be expected, which is that it's going to be probably 1 or 2 general questions, and then 1, 2 or 3 personal questions. So obviously I only ended up doing like 2 questions for most cases. So I would have sent you that first to see your initial interest. And if you're interested, we would set a time and a date. At that time, I would ask you, like, are you ready? Or the person would say, hey, I'm ready. I'd send you the questions. I wanted candidates to send me their answers back in 2 hours, not because I was testing them for time or putting them under pressure, but because when people get too much time to prepare a question, they then sound not so natural. So I wanted them to do it like,
Yeah, rehearsed.
Exactly.
yeah, I wanted them to do it in a short period of time, understand like it's nothing hard. Answer how you would answer if I stood up in front of you and asked you this question, that kind of vibe. So I gave them the 2 hours, but I told them if you needed more time, feel free to take it, because really and truly it's optional. You don't have to do it. You're doing me a favor. You're doing everybody a favor. And people are students. Things happen. You might miss your time. You might miss your scheduling. You might drop sleep. Anything, so that's fine because it's not live. And some people took 2 hours. Some people took 1 hour. Some people took sent their answers the next day. But either way, it was fine. It didn't affect anything. It didn't slow me down or anything. But if you read your question and you didn't like the question and you decided I no longer want to do this, that was fine too, because it's completely up to you. I wasn't trying to make anything to be a problem. I just wanted things to just flow a bit natural. You could do voice notes or you could do a video, and that was up to the candidates to decide, which was me allowing them a bit of creativity to like when people go in a therapy office and they're like, oh, do you pick the lay down bed or the sit down chair, something like that. Do you pick videos or do you pick voice notes? Let's see. That's the first decision that you make when you're on the show, but that's up to you. Some people feel more natural on video. Some people just want to send their voice notes. The voice notes are very to me much easier to deal with from an editing perspective.
Definitely.
But it was up to them. It was up to them. So I wanted to give them autonomy over their thing. I wanted them to do it a 30 to 60-second response, but if they went over, that would have been fine. I didn't want to make things too confined to them because they already had so much restrictions.
Definitely. Okay. I do believe that this is interesting. I don't know if I have fully digested what you have said, Ashleigh, but I do hope to see Behind the Campaign season 2 for future.
Season 2, that have a ring. Okay, I like that. That have a little
Yes,
ring.
girl.
Like
Yeah. So let's just go into the debate night, which would be the final words that the candidates would have spoken, just to cement their mandates, to cement what they want persons to take away and take with them to the polls to vote for them. So were there any specific performances, Ashleigh, for you that stood out? Even if there were persons that, were a little bit shaky during the Behind the Campaign session that you saw thrive or vice versa that you want to highlight?
To be honest, I didn't watch everything in great detail. By the time we even got to the last two positions, I went to my bed. It was too late for me.
Same.
But I'm not gonna lie, I keep on going back to humanities because I guess that was the position that surprised me because I wasn't following it before. So anything that they would have given me would have been a surprise to me because I knew very limited things about them. So I would say humanities. I think I even made a tweet about Kemar. I was like, oh, Kemar have the nice Asian accent. He talk nice, Yeah, but I gave a little synopsis about everybody already, but I definitely think that was a very interesting race and probably the most interesting race for the night.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, Kemar, tell us, how was the experience for you in terms of preparing and then also your performance that night?
Well, you would have been part of my preparation process, especially for debate night. But debate night was how should I say this?
Yes, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
It was an interesting night indeed. What I would say is that in terms of me preparing for it, I really and truly had to because I'm a person I was debating in the past and have experience in debating, but it would have been a while in terms of doing anything like that. And it would have been my first time in my lifetime at UWI Cave Hill participating in a big forum like that. So for sure, the main thing for me was to basically get over the fears, get over the nervousness I had, the anxiety that I felt like I really have to go on here and do my best because I was disappointed in my mini debate like performance kind of sorta. I don't think it was my best because I've done better. So my thing for debate night was just to challenge that energy. I would have done practice sessions throughout the week, would have worked on my speech and everything up until 11, 12, the night before debate night, actually. Austin was drilling me as well as my other friend Regina. They were like, you have to get this together. And it was like,
Good friends to have.
yeah, they were like, it's like, no, this not it, friend. This not it. Even my tone and stuff, it was like, this is not it. And I was getting like the raw, and this is one thing I'm gonna say about my friends. All of them actually, that would have been part of the election, the electoral process for me, whether it's my material, or everybody that worked on my campaign would have provided me with honest feedback. Things I didn't like, things that they liked, things that they felt could have been different. And it's good to have people personally that in your circle. You don't want yes men all the time. If I had a yes men
Yeah,
crowd,
that's really good.
yeah, it would not have been good for me at all. And so I don't think you should have personally just agree with you like, yes to this, yes to that, or yes, this is fine. And not telling you, but okay, think about it from this perspective. They gave me their perspective, gave me the candidate and the opposing view. So it was really good to have that throughout the entire campaign. But more so, the most important night of it all, debate night. So when remember when I was running sure it was like, okay, Kemar, you could tweak this a bit. Not really a fan of this line, this could change, whatever the case would be. And we actually did over through the day of debate, but we didn't get a chance to do that. So they saw the real finished edit, the finished product on debate night. And I think I did well. I think it was one of the most passionate presentations of the night. I think it was probably one of the most memorable, if I must say. Not to take my own horn.
Toot it, friend.
No,
But
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I feel a lot of persons really underestimated humanities because they don't really follow us. But I think because the first time in a few years you would have had in a very I don't know if even ever we had 4 persons contesting one position for humanities. When have you seen that? Last year it was 2 persons. The year before that it was just 1 person.
I generally know it as like one person.
Exactly, there isn't that big push of persons to want to be humanities rep.
How many people are in humanities though?
The faculty itself,
Yeah.
I think it's about. Honestly can't remember.
I just wanted to give the contrast because law faculty is 400, 500 max. It don't reach 500. It's like 400 students, and law faculty generally has 2-3 persons going up for the position. So I don't think it's because you're a small faculty. I just think it has to do with the nature of the degree.
Mm-hmm.
That people are probably not so political or so interested in running
Exactly, yeah.
student leadership.
So I think that the same thing you said, so that would have been persons aren't engaged. They're not really interested because it's not a part of their lifestyle. They're not campus politics have nothing to do with them. I come to do my studies and I'm focused on this. It's not going to impact me that kind of way. So persons are generally engaged when it comes to politics and humanities. But this year, like I said, we have 4 candidates. All 4 persons, including all 4 of us, currently serve on the committee. The other candidates have previous experience serving on the committee. So I felt like this is my first time. This is my first time being on the committee. So I felt like I needed to put myself out there a bit more.
I don't think you should underplay your previous experience though, because you have experience on the committee that you were trying to be the leader of. So, I know you're trying to say, oh, it was just an appointed position, but that's important. That all appointed positions are also very important. They're equally as important, sometimes even more important. Sometimes what your position is doesn't matter. As long as you're there to get the experience, you're there to make an impact, you're there to serve the students. So don't really underplay your role there. You did play a role there.
Talk about it, Ashleigh. Talk about it.
Unless you didn't. Unless you personally know that you were just there taking up space.
No,
That's a different
definitely,
conversation.
I definitely played a role. Definitely a role was definitely played. And role was definitely played. But something I was going to say, we're talking about my experience and stuff on debate night. So like I said, it was up against 3 other persons, so I really had to, get it done. And something before I actually went on, I actually was a bit upset about something. So I decided to channel that energy. It really put me off my game for a while. I was, what, Kemar? Put that negative energy into positive energy and just go there and do your best. And that is what I did.
Situation.
Yeah, honestly, that is what it was. Because if it was angered as much as I was just before I presented, I don't think that I would have done well, but I don't think the passion that I showed and I displayed when I was giving my speech, my presentation, I don't think that would have been that much. And I must say I'm thankful for that mishap that occurred before I presented. not really mishap, but the situation that I observed before I presented that really helped me to use that little energy that I had. But like I said, it was a good experience. It's the same thing that Ashley said about debate night before. In terms of candidates, I think everybody did generally a really good job. I must say, shout out to the guy from Sherlock Hall. His presentation,
Yes,
well, that stood out to me.
yes.
That he was the
That
second
was
person
one
I
of
think
my
that went.
favorite.
Yeah,
I'm
Nikhil.
so sorry, like I missed that one. That's the only reason I'm not chiming in. But I know Nickel as a
That's fine.
I know
Yeah,
him
the
as a
president of
law
the debate
student, and I
society.
know he's an excellent speaker. So that's just my two
He
cents.
is.
I
Mhm.
can't contribute to this part.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
that was engaging. I don't know if you saw your faculty presentation, Ashley, but I don't know for some reason that didn't really stood out to me. I don't know if I got
Didn't really or did
expectations.
really?
It didn't really. It didn't really
Okay.
stood out to me. Yeah,
Well,
it
no
didn't really.
comments.
Yeah, I had a lot of expectations from that slate, and for some reason I don't know, it's just not memorable. ACC for sure was memorable. I loved their performances. I loved their debate night performance. It was always a
Honestly,
good
like it
show.
was really a joy interacting with the IACC candidates because they all have different backgrounds. And normally, when you have like such a big race, you can see some people falling through the cracks. You can see off the bat, oh, well, this person not as strong, this person not as strong. But um, like most of them I had interacted with before, probably as freshers. The only person I didn't know before was Shakim. And then when I did get to know Shakim, I'm just like, Shakim does have a lot of experience as well. He ran for first year representative on Law Society. So that's probably where I've seen his face before. But I knew Greg. I knew Martina. Martina is a law student, so I would have known her as one of my freshers. I knew Rose not solely as one of my freshers, but she also she lives on Keith Counts, which is the hall I stayed on in the past year for my master's. So I knew Rose personally as well. So I'm just like, you know everyone's strengths to a sense. You know that everybody is being genuine. You know that everybody has something to bring to the table, and all of them did something within Cave Hill before. Like all of them were a part of societies that aligned with International Affairs Committee chairperson. So I was just like, that's kind of hard because the most difficult thing about that now is that you would have wished that you could see all of them working together. I know lots of people were saying, oh, I want to see them on the committee, but I would want to see them all on the guild. But you know, people don't, especially if they don't know each other, they're not going to talk about the positions that they're running for. But if I had a hand and I could move like these little faces around to different positions, I would have put them in different positions so everybody would have got a little share.
Yeah, I get
Because
you.
there's a lot to offer, you know. There's a lot to offer, and I wouldn't want to think of it as okay, one person won and the other person lost, which is right. That happened, right? That's exactly what happened. But I don't want their Cave Hill leadership career to stop there. Like I hope that they all keep on going for something. If not this year, then the following year. If they have another year, you know, because there's a lot of talent there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Definitely agree. There was something about I know everyone's favorite was when everyone all four candidates were everyone's favorite, but I knew for sure, you know, Gregory and Martina definitely stood out. But there was something about Rose that I liked. There was some
Yeah.
And there was something about her I like. I don't know what it
Honestly,
was.
let me tell you,
What's
Rose.
about her was just like, you know what? I like this girl was rooting for her all campaign long.
I don't think the campus got the true essence of Rose during her campaign because Rose is actually a very solid person. Like she's currently Keaton's deputy hall chairperson, and like let me tell you, if you want somebody get something done, she will get that done. Like you can count on her to get that done, and she have sense. You know, some people you have to spell out step by step what you want them to do. She's not that person. You could tell her what she could ask her to do something, and you could trust that it's going to be done properly. And I don't know. I don't think the faculty, not the faculty. I don't think the school would have gotten the full essence of Rose. And again, I would say like you know, if there was a physical campus, we probably would have. But she's a very solid person.
Okay, so now that we are on this, coming to the outcome of the elections, were there any other persons you would have liked to see achieve the position or been granted the candidacy? I will begin, and I will start by saying I would have liked to see Kemar Grant as the FHE candidate being elected. Well, yes, actually, I am biased. And I'm being fully transparent with that. Yes.
Mhm.
So if there were any persons that you would have liked to see And, maybe you can even encourage them to run again for the position next year. Who would these persons be?
Um, Oh, that's a hard one because I think that the Guild has a really good batch of people. Like from I was doing the show and I was watching to say if it went this way, if it went that way, I think either way, like certain races would have gone. I think the students would be served to the best, still be served at like an optimal level, but.
Agree.
I would have loved to see Ian in a position. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Ian was gonna get the position, and not that I don't think Nakisha is a good candidate. I don't know why. I just saw Ian in that position, but Nakisha is an awesome candidate too. I didn't know her prior. She did make a really good impression on me as well. Like she looks like she has her thing together. Like boss lady business. That's what the impression I get from Nakisha. But if there could be treasurers, I would definitely see Ian. And I think because I know that Ian was a treasurer before on two different things, I think it's something that you would have known. If you had met him, you would have known that he would go up for something like this. So when you see somebody like lining themselves up for something and then it's just like, oops, nope, you didn't get it.
Yes,
Not you. So yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt in terms of Ian's race. But I'm not gonna say it was unfair because it wasn't. Like it was definitely a fair battle. It was a fair defeat. But I just saw him. I guess it's just a personal thing. Although I don't really know Ian that well. Not like disclaimer. That's not bias.
Really?
That's not bias. I just
I get you.
saw him stepping up to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a race that I was also watching too. I know it would have been a close one. In my opinion, I thought it would have been close. Between him and Nakisha, they ran brilliant campaigns. I loved his little videos. I loved his mandates. I know everyone was saying that Julie left really big shoes to fill.
She did.
So step into that role, that person really has to fill those shoes. So I'm really looking forward to see what the incoming Guild what it is that they do. But I feel we have a solid Guild. I don't think there are any other races.
I just want to put one more, like another one that like if I was voting, I wouldn't know which way I would have gone was GCC because like I love Genesis and I think she did an excellent job in the past year. But when I engaged Mikkel and I saw like the amount of plans that he had and I went through the GCC, I think it's GCC, their Instagram page, and I saw the stuff that were Mikkel's ideas. Like you could see him just as a committee member coming up, and you could have seen some ideas that were just his. So I'm like, that's kind of hard because I think both of them are really strong. But I was just thinking along the lines of Genesis got a chance. Maybe we should give somebody else a chance. I think in this kind of one-on-one kind of thing, you're not really defeated if you did a year already.
I get you.
I'm not saying the wrong person won or anything like that, but I liked Mikkel's energy as well.
Now that you mentioned that, well, I know Osazi is your friend. That race would have been a race that some persons were eyeing too. For me, probably know some persons were saying that Germany is not the most what should they say? What's the word? No, he may not be the best speaker, but he's a man of action. So that was very important for voters. They felt like, okay, this guy was able to get so much done as the current UCC. Imagine what more he could get done for us if he give him another year. So you felt that how they looking at that race, saying that your friend, the plans that your friend had. Like, what are your thoughts on that specific race, if you have any?
That race, I think it could have gone either way, but like I don't think I would have known the dynamics exactly to know which way it would have gone. I mostly know non-national students and I know some Barbadian students. But sometimes you don't know which way the race is going to sway because I personally thought that Osaze had this. I thought he had this on lock, honestly, because I was like, now you good. But you don't know which side people are going to swing from. But I don't know how to gauge that because the Guild the bar is not open or anything like that. The Guild as a physical space is not an operational space right now. So I don't know what were people's considerations when they voted, whichever way they voted. But I don't think that anybody's in a position to really criticize it because I don't think I'm in a position to criticize it. Maybe other people, but not me, because I don't know what people were looking for that.
Exactly.
if
from
you
a
get me.
voter's perspective.
Now that you mentioned that too, because this is not something I saw on Twitter too, because about the whole, because he was a person that had a position before. So is it that people like I experienced also, because the law race was one that I know that was a pretty much hot topic, because we had three candidates up for law rep. Travis would have been the VP of the Law Society, as well as the first year law rep. Pierre didn't serve in the Law Society as far as I can remember. So, persons, he would have touched on that debate like when he was speaking about experience being preferred but not required. Do you feel like him winning really solidifies his opinion in that fact? Because I know there's a lot of back and forth, especially on Twitter, with persons saying, well, the Law Society is something different. And you really need to be on that society to really see some of the challenges that occur in terms of managing that society. So do you feel like people agreed with him? That's what he won, or it was just overall
Honestly,
champion?
I think on the election night, the debate night, election day, everything, people know who they're gonna vote for beforehand. People always know who they're gonna vote for.
Correct.
So to say that one particular thing is what swayed people to vote a particular way, I don't think that's true. I think people already have seen enough, they've heard enough, they know who they're gonna vote for. But I'm just saying, like, me personally, like, and this is really from a personal standpoint as a past law representative, and even if I was never law rep, even if I
definitely not to cut you, but I definitely want you to expand on that, because Twitter only gives us so much characters to really talk, and sometimes people just reply just to clap back. But I got where you're coming from, so I was like, I want to give you that time to really explain why you said that, because you were the past law rep. I'm sure you would have been in a committee before. You would have been law from since 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
So you would have seen the inner workings of the Law Society. So, and other law reps, other persons that serve in the committee would also chime in and say, what we had to pull up our slack when we didn't had persons that were in the committee before. We had to do X, Y, Z. So that's where we're saying, what experience is best.
The thing is, it's not experience is best, but it's not everything. But I honestly feel like the faculty of law position, it's a very special position, because you are not just the law rep, you're also the constitutional chair. And you're not just a faculty rep, you are a representative that's dealing with law students. And law students are some of the most outspoken, cantankerous, controversial students, challenging students.
Ooh,
No, hold on. Let me tell you why. There's a reason though,
Go ahead.
By the time you reach second year, you do a course called administrative law. You do a course called Caribbean human rights, right? You are taught how to take governments down when governments breach people's rights. If you're taught to take governments down, if somebody in authority, if your teacher, your principal, or your faculty rep is not doing what they're supposed to do, I can't take you down too.
Yeah.
Because I am learning along with my hundreds of classmates how to do these things. So you don't really have that fear of authority, or I didn't have that fear of authority, not so much, because I'm like, when people are not doing what they're supposed to do, you're supposed to be able to come up as an average person. And I maintain that position as, like, in terms of power, politics, anything like that. So these law students, though, they don't just know that they have that power. They take it. They definitely act on it. And they will put you in some very difficult situations sometimes. And the law rep position, because it's like one of the, like, we had our constitution for a long time ago. Law reps write the Gill Constitution, etc., etc. These very established things. So because it's a very established society, there are certain things that are taken as known. It's not written anywhere. And there's a lot of little things that might take you back. Like to sit down and then learn it for the first time, learn it and do it in the first time, it's going to be very difficult. Even if you knew it before, it's going to be very difficult, right? And I've just always maintained, when I've watched previous presidents and how they operate. In my first year, Vern Ashby was the president, and I saw how she operated. She was vice president and also first year rep before she ran for law rep. So that girl had it done pat. I saw how she had it done pat. I was able to watch, like, what her faults were, and I was able to note them and know what I was going to do if I decided to go for that position. In my second year, I think it was Lloyd. Yeah, that's when I was PRO. Lloyd went up, and Lloyd did not have the experience on the Law Society before, but he thought he could, because he had experience in other things, other associations. He was president of GISA. He started GISA and he was president of GISA. He thought, like, Law Society was a suitable thing. And I remember like letting Lloyd know that I don't agree with you because there's lots of things that you're not going to know just because you never served on society. If you served on a society, you would have known that this went this way. Around this time of the year, this is what happens, kind of thing. This is the natural flow of the order. Just, it's so many little things and it's so many moving parts. And it's not just that, it's on top of the fact that people are going to be checking you constantly. They're going to be checking you. So other than just you need to have your stuff in order to let the society run, you have to know let people know that you're doing your work, right? So I can't speak for any other position as much as I could speak for law representative.
People on that, they definitely
I really love the insight.
Right. So
Yeah,
I was just saying that when you go up for that position, you should know at least some time before and really think about it as to what changes it is that you want to make to the faculty and what type of leader you're going to be and the people that are under you and that you're responsible for. How is it that you're going to treat them? Like, I thought about these things, but you guys know, like, I had basically an extra year to be very intentional about my tenure. And like, you know, two years to be at the end of your second year to know so many things plus be a full-time student, it's really hard. So that was what my thing was. But for the presidents in the past that didn't have specific law society experience, I let them know that they should have thought this through. You should have at least done something. You know, you could have or another thing is, if you have a friend that was on the law society and if you worked really well, because you end up always asking your friends for help in these kind of positions, then that would work out. But it always puts a strain on the rest of the executive when the person at the helm of everything doesn't have the law society experience. And honestly, like, I just wish that Travis had probably ran last year and that Pierre had served a year on the law society as maybe something minor, and then this year, you know. But in terms of saying like something is validated because that, it's dependent on voters, and voters will pick whichever way they choose. So I'm not gonna say, oh yes it's this, oh yes it's that. Anything could go anyway. It's not bad for anybody. I'm just saying, like, if you had experience, if you didn't have experience, it would be a very difficult position. So the experience to me is a type of due diligence that you should do. At least respect the office a little bit more than just one day, couple days ago, I decided to do this thing, you know? So that was what my position was. That's still what my position is. It will always be my position. People might not agree with it, and that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion, but I know from the inside what it's like. So I know things are gonna be an uphill battle for anybody that would have won.
I definitely get your point. I didn't know too that, well, I don't really get into it because I don't know the exact happenings of the situation, but I do know that there was some sort of situation that occurred in terms of Travis. And so some person typed something very, not nice in the chat regarding him and things like that. So there's a lot of controversial things happening in that regarding his candidacy. But you probably don't know what I'm speaking about. I know what it is, but not
I do.
Specifics. Yeah, so I don't want us to get into that conversation because that's a whole other thing. So things like that, like dirty politics, people playing dirty politics will kind of also impact.
No, but you see, the thing is, when I see these things happening, well, not just that kind of underhanded comments, but other underhanded comments as well as the there's like a burn account, Cave Hill Citizen, that pops up on
that
Twitter,
account, I remember.
Including that account. We have to understand that is the general nature of Cave Hill politics. Just because I thought because everything was online, everybody would have been nice. Nobody would have said anything slanderous. No. Honestly, I thought because of the absence of a physical campus, then people are going to be using their online identities, their real online identities, and so they would be slanderous. But when I saw that all these backhanded negative comments were coming up, I was like, it's back to normal. It's actually normal. This is actually how Cave Hill politics is. So when I see something like that, it's disappointing, but it really comes with the season. So disappointing, but not surprised.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should really stamp out, though. I don't think that we should be playing those in any kind of politics, Cave Hill politics, national politics.
I think we can denounce it as much as possible, but no matter what, it's always going to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's just something that comes with life on the whole too. So It's not something that's unique to the politics scene.
Yeah, so I even said to people on my executive, I say, when you take the public office, your skin going to get so thick you could make tires out of it, and that's what you
Not
really
fair.
need. Yeah, no, I'm so serious, because you cannot take everything to heart. Just that, like, I remember when I took stage, I was ready for people to come with very difficult questions and try to slander me, and I was more prepared for those kind of difficult questions, that when people ask me normal things, I don't think I answered as great, because I was
Yeah,
so prepared for somebody
emphasis
to
was
come and
elsewhere.
slander me. Yeah, and they didn't, and I think because of that, like, I was just like, oh, okay, you guys are being nice. This is weird. I didn't expect that. you know, but that's a
Understood.
part of it. I think that's definitely a part of it.
Yeah, but I wish the incumbent executive the best. But I happen to know Pierre actually went to school together and stuff like that. He usually juggles a lot on his plate. So I think that with the right executive and stuff, and I think you guys should be on a good path, or at least better than where you are now in terms of current leadership. But that's a conversation
What are you saying, Kemar?
for another day, because I was very displeased on debate, and I do not know what occurred then. But yeah, so I wish them the best. I do think it's an interesting lineup.
I do love the insight that you are bringing to the conversation, Ashley. And I just want to thank you, Mar, so much for inviting you. I think you are a perfect addition to the conversation. I enjoyed
Thank you
myself. I
so
learned,
much.
yes, I learned so much about the Guild. I'm not going to lie, while I was a student. I was pretty oblivious to what happened to that building next to the canteen. But I think that now being connected with the election process through Kemar's candidacy. Um, I want this platform that Kemar has, offered today to his podcast to be able to inspire and also give some insight to potential candidates as well, so they would know the things that you should look out for. The expectations that persons may have when it comes to voting, and you carrying on your candidacy, things that you should look out for. I think that this is the perfect starting point. So if you're thinking about running, just have a listen to the podcast. Both Ashleigh and Kemar gave great information, and I did enjoy it. Over to you,
Yeah,
Kemar.
I'm not gonna lie. And it was never something I thought I would have done. But I decided to put myself out there for service. And as you think too, people that do never put themselves there for service always have a lot to say about persons that do put themselves up for service.
Very
So
true.
I just wanna really say everyone did a really good job. We put ourselves up for service, even if we win, lose, or draw. We all did well. Not gonna say I wasn't sad when I lost, because it did hit me, and I think I'm human. I was disappointed, and that's reality. To say I wasn't disappointed would be a lie. I would say, yeah, I was disappointed when I saw election results, but that doesn't mean that my work within my faculty or even on the Guild of Advocates to be stopped. So I'm still looking to be continuously involved in campus life. Within my first year, I wasn't that involved, but what I did is made sure that my second year I made up for that. It was, you know what, Kemar, I have to be involved in campus life. Well, I wasn't involved in first year. So let me correct that. I wasn't involved, but it wasn't on any committees or anything like that. I would attend events, check out a few things, especially once during the day. Remember when he came in, it was IACC. He had the IACC events and stuff. Yeah, those were really well done. That was one. That was one week of activities that I enjoyed this year around too. So it was little things that happened on campus I really were able to get involved. So I really hope we get back to campus soon, because the face-to-face events are nice. It's a good chance to connect with other people and really meet friends and stuff. It's really hard to connect via this whole virtual platform, because everybody just come to class and leave, and anybody got some checkpoint you, because I've been on this computer on Zoom for the entire day. I don't want to come now and have to chat with you on XYZ. So it's really good to have these face-to-face conversations. We definitely want to thank.
So are you gonna run for any positions, any other positions? Like, what's next?
I don't want to put. It just
Put you on the spot there.
Yeah,
Put you on the spot there.
you putting me on the spot, Ashley. Something is next. I have my eye on something. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm going to leave that there. But definitely, you would definitely, if I'm successful, you'll definitely see me very soon within the next coming
Love
weeks.
to see it. Love to see it.
Even a virtual setting, and I'm really looking forward to see what this guild offers within the coming academic year. I know it's going to be a good year. I just know it's going to be a good year for Cave Hill.
I feel it too. And I think it's going to be like very different than we've seen in recent years, especially with more Barbadians on the guild as well. I know lots of people were
We're not pleased with that.
yeah, which I don't like that kind of narrative. It's actually very disappointing to see students starting that kind of narrative. But I think I don't judge people based on their nationality. I judge them based on who they are as an individual. I think the right persons are in the right positions, and I think it's going to be a good year. I think it's going to start a kind of new era for the guild. I think there's definitely a shift that's going to happen now, and I'm really interested to see what they're going to bring.
Definitely. But I just want to thank you, Ashleigh, so much for coming on the podcast. Really want to thank you for
Thank you so much for having me. I'm not going to lie. When I saw the message, it was like kind of a surprise because I was like, oh, sometimes you don't know who's listening and who it affects them. And it was just nice that people were following up with me. Someone else followed up with me about something else. But and this is just something that I did in my spare time. So it was nice to see that it had an impact. And you said some really nice things about it. So I do really appreciate that kind of feedback. And I enjoyed talking with you guys today. I think you guys are really cool as well.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. Autumn too, want to thank you for moderating, for being the little bridge between.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
So thank you for coming on. But all good things must come to an end. So we reached the end of another episode. So remember, guys, to go and check out GOME Clothing on Instagram. You can also check out Ashleigh's Twitter. Actually, plug that Twitter. She has some good content on there. You can check the video series if you missed it.
Original the Start. My video series is currently my pinned tweet, but not for long. So
yeah, so go check it before she gets
rid of it. My profile if you want to see it.
Yeah, you wrote an article recently about intellectual property in the Grand Caribbean. Plug that to let people know you wrote an article. Let them know where can we find that?
Well, you can find it on the Organization of Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Association Journal. That's, I think, OCCBA Journal. It's also something, I guess you could search it on Twitter if you search my name at Original the Start and the word article. I'm sure it will come up. But it's really on our use of Twitter because a lot of people do steal content. I was told not to use that word steal when it comes to copyright, but I said what I said. A lot of people do take your content and use it however they like. And sometimes people are wondering, people always say, hey, give credits, but it's not just credit that's important. It's also about permissions sometimes, because if people do have their content registered and copyrighted, now we're seeing smaller types of content being protected, like as low as 50 words, as low as 55 words can be protected if it's registered as a group of works. So you could possibly have a lawsuit, and you don't want a case where you see something funny on Twitter, or somebody coined a really cool catchphrase and you go put it on a shirt. If your shirt make $1 million, personally, if you took my tweet and you put it on a shirt, I'm suing you for all that you have. I'm taking everything because that's not yours. It's not yours to use. You didn't originate with you, and it really is something sinister about it as well. Just taking something and using it to your benefit rather than no credits, no recognition, no permissions or anything like that. And people think it's okay if they credit you, but as I say, that's not enough. But I say it more eloquently in the article, so you guys can go and check that out.
But once again, thank you so much, Ashleigh. Thank you, Autumn. Really enjoyed chatting with you guys. I'm really happy with this episode, and hopefully, maybe you never know, Ashleigh will be back on again and talk about something else. So. Just want to thank you.
I'd love to.
But remember, guys, to go ahead and follow at Candid Conversations with Kemar on Instagram, as well as check out GOME Clothing. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, I'm out of here, guys.
This episode was produced by Taken for Granted Productions.